atop a jagged spire, a life begins in trembling silence, sheltered only by cold stone and the biting mountain wind. Every gust threatens to extinguish this fragile spark, as tiny claws struggle to find purchase against the unforgiving, frozen granite surface. Then, a shadow of hope descends, as powerful wings shield the shivering chick from the elements, offering a brief, warm sanctuary. Instinct awakens in the darkness, a blind reflex to reach upward, demanding the fuel required to survive this vertical, desolate wilderness. The provider arrives with lethal precision, carrying the first offering of flesh, a grim necessity for growth in this high-altitude arena. Strength is forged through sacrifice, as the mother systematically deconstructs the prey, preparing her offspring for a life defined by blood. A clumsy handoff marks the first lesson in survival, where every morsel is a hard-won victory against the encroaching shadow of hunger. Satiated for now, the chick retreats into the warmth of plumage, unaware of the brutal transformation that the coming days will demand. But peace is fleeting as siblings emerge, transforming the quiet nest into a crowded battlefield where only the loudest voices are fed. In this primal hierarchy, mercy is non-existent, and a single push can mean the difference between a full belly and slow starvation. Days pass, and the once helpless bodies begin to lengthen, standing taller as the drive to dominate their small, rocky world intensifies daily. Suddenly, the veil lifts, and dark, glossy eyes open wide, reflecting the terrifying vastness of the world they are destined to conquer. A chorus of desperate cries erupts, a rhythmic pulsing of throats that signals a deepening hunger that the mountains can barely satisfy. The arrival of the male triggers a frantic surge, a chaotic collision of bodies as the drive to feed overrides all sibling bonds. Amidst the scuffling, the strongest asserts his dominance, claiming the lion's share of the kill, while the others watch in silent, hungry desperation. For the weakest, the ledge becomes a dangerous frontier, where a lack of strength leads to a precarious existence on the edge. Beneath the soft down, a biological miracle occurs, as rigid quills pierce the skin, forging the structural foundation for future high-speed flight. White fuzz gives way to mottled brown, a transitional armor that marks the end of infancy and the beginning of a predator. Testing his new equipment, the eldest beats the air, stirring dust and loose feathers in a clumsy rehearsal for the ultimate escape. Gravity is a heavy burden, yet he persists, feeling the first hints of lift beneath his wings as the abyss beckons below. Balance is the first weapon to master, requiring trembling legs to steady a body that is rapidly outgrowing its confined, rocky cradle. Looking outward, the horizon reveals a terrifying drop, a vertical mile of empty space that will soon become his only true home. He peers into the void, calculating the distance. As loose stones fall away, a stark reminder of the cost of a single mistake, the wind becomes a tactile teacher, rippling through his new feathers and testing the structural integrity of his developing, unrefined aerodynamic frame. High above, the father provides a masterclass in motion, a slate gray streak that cuts through the sky with effortless, terrifyingly beautiful precision. The juvenile watches, his brain hard-wiring the mechanics of the hunt, tracking every movement with a focus that is becoming increasingly lethal. One step closer to the precipice, he leans into the updraft, feeling the invisible hand of the wind pushing him toward his destiny. With wings spread wide, the sun illuminates the complex architecture of flight, revealing the hidden power within every newly formed primary feather. A sudden gust strikes with violence, nearly claiming him early, forcing a desperate scramble that proves survival is a game of inches. He stands frozen at the threshold of the sky, a sentinel of the heights, staring down at the valley that awaits his arrival. The wind roars, a siren song for the bold, while his siblings remain rooted in the safety of the nest's fading, dusty warmth. Imperfections in his plumage are revealed in the light, yet the muscle beneath is ready to take the gamble of a lifetime. The moment arrives with a brutal shove of air, tilting his world sideways and forcing his talons to lose their final, desperate grip. Balance is lost as he pitches forward, his wings beating in a frantic, uncoordinated rhythm against the pull of the great abyss. He slips into the void, sending a cascade of stones into the silence below, as the safety of the ledge disappears forever. Freefall is a terrifying teacher, stripping away the comfort of the earth and replacing it with the raw, rushing roar of air. Every stroke is a frantic battle against gravity, a desperate attempt to find stability in a world that has no solid ground. Tumbling through the sky, he struggles to orient his body as the cliff face blurs past in a dizzying streak of gray stone. Instinct takes over, his wings locking into a wide, stable arch that finally catches the air, slowing his terrifying, vertical descent. The fall becomes a glide as he finds the invisible currents, drifting toward the lower ledges with the grace of a true aerialist. The cliff wall is a looming threat, inches inches away as he maneuvers his trembling wings to avoid a fatal, high-speed mid-air collision. A crosswind slams into his side, forcing a sharp, instinctive correction that pushes his young muscles to the very point of exhaustion. He beats the air with renewed desperation, rising and falling like a broken kite as he searches for a place to finally land. With a final, sharp adjustment, he veers away from the jagged rock, his feathers screaming under the pressure of his first real flight. The target is a narrow shelf below, a tiny island of safety amidst the vastness, as he prepares for a high-speed, dangerous landing. Legs extend, talons ready. He miscalculates the approach, coming in too fast for a body that still lacks the finesse of adulthood. He hits the stone hard, a bone-jarring impact that sends debris flying as he tumbles forward, his wings flaring in a desperate save. Gravity tries to finish what it started, pulling his sliding body toward the edge as his claws grind fruitlessly against the slick stone. 1 foot dangles over the abyss, his wings beating a frantic tattoo of survival against the air as he fights to stay upright. With a final, lunging effort, he anchors himself into a crack, pulling his exhausted body back from the very brink of certain death. Breath comes in ragged gasps as he stands on the ledge, his heart hammering against his ribs in the wake of his escape. He adjusts his weight, feeling the cold reality of the lower world, far from the nest and the protection of his powerful parents. A short hop, a quick burst of power, he tests the ledge, learning the friction of the rock and the weight of air. Again and again he leaps, his movements becoming sharper. Even as the uneven landings continue to bruise his young, developing chest and legs, he drifts sideways, caught in a thermal he cannot yet control, landing awkwardly but the growing sense of his own rising power. Each impact is a lesson, each scrape a scar that hardens his resolve to master the unforgiving vertical world that he now inhabits. Using his talons like ice axes, he scales the vertical face, a slow and grueling ascent that builds the strength needed for hunting. Pausing to look up, he sees the distance he has fallen, and the impossible height he must eventually reclaim to become a king. Above, his father streaks past, a reminder of the ultimate goal, cutting through the sky with a speed that seems almost supernatural. Silence settles over the ledge as the sun begins to dip, leaving the juvenile alone with the wind and his growing predatory hunger. From his new vantage point, he watches the master at work, observing the father as he scans the valley for a target. The strike is a blur of gray, a violent explosion of dust as the adult falcon slams into a mouse with surgical precision. The father ascends with his prize, the limp body of the rodent a testament to the lethality that the juvenile must soon replicate. He watches the delivery, his eyes tracking the grip of the talons, memorizing the exact pressure required to hold a life in check. Every tear of the beak is a lesson in anatomy, as the juvenile studies the process of turning a prey into life-sustaining energy. The adult launches again, demonstrating a low-level pass, teaching the youngster how to use the terrain to mask a high-speed, deadly approach. Mimicry begins, as the juvenile hops into the air, his claws reaching for an imaginary target on the dusty, sun-baked rock below him. His gaze shifts, the innocence of the chick replaced by the cold, calculating stare of a killer, scanning the ground for actual movement. There, a shadow moves, a gray mouse darting between stones, and the falcon's world narrows down to a single, tiny scurrying point of light. He launches a clumsy but determined dive, his wings half open as he accelerates toward the earth in his first true, aggressive predatory strike. Impact. He slams into the grit just behind his target, his talons sweeping forward to hook the mouse in a cloud of dust. The struggle is frantic, the mouse fighting for life beneath him, as the falcon flails his wings to maintain balance on the ground. He pins it down, the weight of his body finally ending the resistance, as he feels the first pulse of a successful, independent kill. Taking flight with his prize, he wobbles through the air, his muscles straining to carry the extra weight back to his high perch. Alone on the rock, he begins his first solo feast, the taste of victory far sweeter than any meal provided by his parents. But the world is full of different challenges. As he eyes a basking lizard, realizing that speed alone cannot catch every crafty target, he dives for a snake, but the reptile strikes back, teaching the young falcon that even the hunter can become the hunted. Learning from his mistake, he circles back, attacking from a blind angle to neutralize the threat before the serpent can even react. Water presents a new puzzle, as he attempts to pluck a fish from the surface, failing once before adjusting his timing for success. With the silver fish in his grasp, he climbs higher, his flight becoming more efficient, shedding the clumsy habits of his early youth. He lands with newfound grace on a wet ledge, his talons finding grip where others would slip, proving his mastery over diverse environments. No longer frantic, he eats with a calm precision, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon for the next, More difficult, aerial challenge. A flock of sparrows appears. A chaotic cloud of targets that tests his ability to isolate and track a single, fast-moving point. He attacks with raw speed, but the sparrows are too agile, leaving him grasping at empty air as the flock vanishes away. The burst of motion is overwhelming, a tactical retreat by the prey that leaves the young predator confused and momentarily stalled mid-air. He flies through the ghost of the flock, his talons empty, realizing that a direct approach is not always the most effective strategy. Fatigue sets in as he struggles to regain altitude, his heavy wings a reminder that even the fastest bird has physical limits. He tries again, chasing a lone outlier, but the sparrow's erratic zigzags prove that maneuverability can often trump raw, unrefined high-speed power. Defeated for now, he lands heavily, his breath coming fast as he watches the sparrows circle safely in the high, unreachable blue. He doesn't scream in frustration. He watches. He begins to understand that the hunt is a game of patience, timing, and calculated risk. Atop the highest spire, he stands transformed, a sleek machine of bone and feather, perfectly adapted to the absolute pinnacle of nature. Pigeons move below, a steady, predictable rhythm that he analyzes with the cold, detached wisdom of a veteran warrior preparing for battle. Every muscle tenses, every feather aligns, as he compresses his body into a singular, explosive spring, ready to reclaim his aerial throne. In the reflection of his eye, the world is a map of vectors and velocities, a silent theater where he is the lead. He launches not a fall, but a strike, a powerful commitment to the air that marks the beginning of the world's fastest maneuver. The stoop begins, wings tucked into a perfect teardrop shape, as he transforms into a living bullet traveling at 200 miles per hour. The wind screams past, a roar of pure speed, as he locks onto his target, a gray pigeon unaware of the reaper descending. Impact. A thunderclap of feathers and force as he strikes, a mid-air collision so violent it echoes across the entire mountain valley. He recovers with effortless grace, snatching the falling prize from the air, a master of gravity, speed, and the lethal art of flight. Against the setting sun, the king stands victorious, a survivor of the ledge, ready to begin the eternal cycle of the hunt again.